Often referred to as the splinter twin of Pauper, Midnight Gond is a Pauper deck that tries to win with a 2-card infinite combo of its own in the form of Midnight Guard and Presence of Gond. Now, there are many ways to build the deck, but today we're going to be looking at a stock list similar to one that a player by Jack Mitchell Burns took to a 5-0 finish in a league back in May. Remember that this is a stock list, so I'll go over all the other possible inclusions at the end of the video. The combo consists of Midnight Guard, a 2/3 for 3 that untaps whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, and Presence of Gond, an enchantment aura that gives the equipped creature the ability to tap and produce a 1/1 Elf Warrior token. To assemble the combo, simply cast a Presence of Gond on a Midnight Guard that is not summoning sick, and barring any removal from opponents, you have the combo! You can now tap Midnight Guard to produce a 1/1 Elf Warrior token, which then causes the Midnight Guard to untap, so you can rinse and repeat until you have a nearly infinite amount of creatures. To have the highest chance of comboing off, we need to run playsets of each Midnight Guard and Presence of Gond. While powerful, the combo is very fragile due to Pauper being a heavy removal format. To try to combat this, we run 3 God's Willing to protect our guard as well as dig for the combo. Since the combo is really easy to disrupt, we're gonna need a backup plan. Our backup plan is to stall the game out while we amass other tokens to swing in for lethal damage. Our plan begins with a Soul Sister shell of a playset of each Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant. If you have just one of these out on the field when you combo off with Midnight Guard and Presence of Gond, you will also gain virtually infinite life in addition to the virtually infinite amount of creatures. Other than that cool interaction, these help us gain life to try to stabilize against aggro decks. To utilize their life-gaining abilities, we play a handful of token generators. Selesnya Evangel is a 1/2 creature that lets us create a 1/1 Saproling token starting the second turn it's in play. Scatter the Seeds gives us 3 Saproling tokens, and is extremely easy to cast since it has the Convoke ability. Convoke is an ability that allows us to tap a creature to help cast the spell. Each creature tapped this way counts as the mana color of the color that the creature is. So for example, our green creatures tap for green mana to cast the spell, and our white creatures tap for white mana to cast the spell. This card is great for enabling our next card, and easily the MVP of the deck, Sprout Swarm. Sprout Swarm is insane in this deck. It is an instant for 1 and a green that puts a 1/1 green Saproling token onto the battlefield. It also has Convoke, much like Scatter the Seeds, making it easier for us to cast it. But wait, it also has Buyback, a mechanic that allows us to pay 3 of anything to have the spell returned to our hand if the spell resolves. And guess what? Convoke works with Buyback, so you can tap your creatures to help pay for the buyback cost as well. This card gets out of hand fast, as it makes more and more creatures each turn. Just one of these things can net you enough tokens you need to win the game. Midnight Guard also has great synergy with Sprout Swarm, as you can tap it to help pay for the cost of the spell, and once it makes the token, Midnight Guard will untap. This means that each Midnight Guard you have on the field essentially reduces the converted mana cost of Sprout Swarm by 1. In Pauper, it's always nice to have some removal, so we play 2 Journey to Nowheres in the main, while the rest of our removal is in the sideboard. Like all token decks, we're weak to board sweepers such as Electrickery. To combat this, we play 5 spells to boost the toughness of our creatures. I like to run 2 Lumathread Fields. In addition to this, I like to run 1 Spider Silk Armor that grants us much needed reach against flyers, and 2 Veteran Armorers. The Armorer is nice because it counts towards Convoke costs for a couple of our spells, but it's also a prime target for our opponent's removal, so it does have a downside. It is for this reason that I choose to run 2 Lumathread Fields instead of the full playset of Armorers. These 5 cards not only protect us from sweepers, but they also allow us to block more effectively and allow us to stall the game out until we hit one of our payoff cards. And speaking of payoff cards, we play 4 Pallid Mycoderms as our main win cons. Pallid Mycoderm is a monster that opponents often underestimate. Its first ability allows you to create a Saproling token every 3 turns. Its second ability allows us to sacrifice a Saproling to give all of our fungi and Saproling creatures +1/+1 until the end of the turn. This thing is crazy. This makes combat math hard for our opponents, as it allows us to attack with our saprolings and fungi, and sack all of our block tokens after blockers are declared, to buff all of the other tokens that got through. Also, don't forget that the Pallid is a fungus himself, so you can sack a saproling to save the Pallid from removal such as Flame Slash. This ability also allows us to protect our tokens from spells such as Echoing Decay and Echoing Truth. To negate these spells, simply sacrifice the saproling being targeted in response to the spell being cast. The last part of the deck is our mana base. We play 4 Blossoming Sands, 3 Forests, 7 Plains, 3 Selesnya Sanctuaries, and 4 Colony Gardens. Colony Gardens are great in this deck, as they create a plant token among entering the battlefield that can either gain us a life for each Soul Sister we have out, can help cast our spells with Convoke, and can chump block if needed. It is also important to note that we can play a Selesnya Sanctuary to return a Colony Garden to our hand if we need another token for added value. Other options for the main deck include more copies of Journey to Nowhere and Spider Silk Armor, Village Bellringer, Scion of the Wild, Suture Priest, and Might of the Masses. Village Bellringer is the most interesting to me as it has great synergy with Spout Swarm, as it untaps all creatures you control when it enters the battlefield, and you can cast it at instant speed since it has Flash. Scion of the Wild is interesting because it oftentimes is huge, but without evasion our opponents can easily chump block it or take it out with a Journey to Nowhere or black removal spell. Suture Priest is in here simply to try to combat other high volume creature decks, as well as any decks that involve creatures entering the battlefield over and over and over again, such as Peregrine Drake. Might of the Masses can be an alternate win con, but it's not a recurring ability like Pallid Mycoderm, and therefore didn't make the cut. Before we talk about our sideboard, let's go over the strengths and the weaknesses of the deck. The deck has some strengths. It's resilient, and it's often not hindered by board sweepers. It can win as early as turn 4 with a combo, and it can give aggro decks a hard time if they stumble even the slightest bit, and oh man is it fun to play. The deck, being a tier 2 deck, does have a decent amount of weaknesses. The combo is very weak to removal spells. It's a slow deck that can sometimes just dirtle around until you find the win con, and aggro decks can sometimes kill us before we stabilize. Our sideboard includes 3 Circle of Protection red, to protect us from red aggro decks and burn spells, 4 Gleeful Sabotage to help us against Boggles and Affinity, 4 Scattershot Archers to help protect us from flyers, 3 Aerial Volleys to take out flyers such as Peregrine Drake at instant speed, and 1 Journey to Nowhere for added removal. Other notable sideboard options are Llanowar Knight to combat mono black control, and Prismatic Strands for even more protection. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and share the video. If you're interested in the deck, I put a link in the description that will take you to the deck list on mtggoldfish.com. There you can see the prices for both MTGO and paper. And also don't forget to subscribe, and please follow me on Twitter at Pauper_Fox, as I will be tweeting out my progress as I'm making videos so you guys can stay up to date. As always, don't forget to check out the Pauper subreddit r/Pauper for all your Pauper needs. And I know a lot of you guys wanted to see gameplay footage of all the decks, but unfortunately I don't have enough time during the week to do all of that. I work a full-time job, so it's just hard to fit the time in to do all the editing for the deck techs and then go and record and play a bunch of matches. So for now, I'm just going to be making 1 video a week. It can be a deck tech, or I do have some other videos planned that aren't deck techs, but I will be trying to upload 1 video a week every Saturday. So I just want to thank you guys so much for the support that you guys have given me so far. It's been overwhelming, and I just can't thank you guys enough.